world is getting colder. Trying to get sober. Lord, help me get strong.
How you doing today? We are at the 12 of 12 podcast, and this is the podcast about real life, recovery, redemption, growth and development, because that's what this is about. And if you don't know, we are sponsored by First Step Recovery.
Yeah.
If you need help with substance abuse disorder, severe mental illness, please contact the number. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. Don't wait until it gets too late. Contact us. We're here for you. And also, if you have not yet subscribed to the channel, please tap the subscribe button and we will be
We'll be happy to have you as a subscriber.
Okay, so we got a special guest today. Back at it. You got Miss Mariah.
Hello.
And we're going to be talking about the mental aspects of being on drugs and being off drugs. What's the difference on the way you think when you're on drugs? And what's the difference in the way you think and handle situations when you're off drugs? So Mariah, how long did you use?
10 years. About 10 years.
About 10 years.
Yep.
So.
Well, hard drugs, 10 years.
Hard drugs, 10 years.
Yeah.
And the soft drugs when?
23 years.
Jeez.
I started smoking pot when I was 7.
Oh, dang, you was in there.
I was in there.
Get in there. Get in there. Okay, so we're going to get into it today.
Yes.
Tell me, Ms. Mariah, what do you think about the way you were then, the way you handle certain situations, like when stress happened, when things came into your life? Did you like to use at those times?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
your way of coping with some things was basically like you used to use when you used to cope.
Yeah. Yep.
What do you...
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so now,
Okay.
how do you handle the situation now?
Okay. Well,
Now since you're sober.
okay. Now, since I'm sober, I would say I have learned the importance of expressing myself in a healthy manner and a supportive way. So, you know, I reach out to my support group. I pray on it first. I pray. Reach out to my support group. Reach out to my sponsor. And I want to say, like, one of the most important things that I do is get out of myself and help somebody else. Because, like, I know whatever I'm experiencing, whatever I'm going through, like, someone has it worse than me. Someone hasn't found the spiritual toolkit yet to help them have successful growth and just be able to handle things in a conducive way. So now that I've worked the steps, now that I have a job, now that I've, like, you know, lived a little bit of sober life, like, I think it's really paramount for my own recovery to be able to give somebody else that information.
So helping other people out kind of helps you stay sober?
For sure.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So you weren't really trying to help people out before then?
No, I wasn't even helping myself out, you know. I used drugs and alcohol because I liked the effects produced from it. I liked that I felt like, you know, starting out, I felt like, you know, I was a cool kid. You know, all the cool kids were smoking pot. At least that's, you know, what I thought at the time. So, yeah, I just used because, one, I wasn't raised in an environment that nurtured emotions. Like,
yeah.
and I talk about this to a lot of the clients. Like, I really believe I started using drugs because I didn't know how to identify or handle the complexity of some of my emotions. So instead of doing that as I got older, instead of, like, you know, reading a self-help book or talking to somebody about what I'm feeling because I couldn't identify what I was feeling, I just used drugs. Because when I use drugs, then I'm not really feeling anything other than the desire to get more. That is my only concern when I'm using drugs, the desire to get more.
So starting off, since you were so young using drugs, you didn't have any figures that you could go to, you feel like, to talk to express your emotions or anything. You know what, people? A lot of people go through that. Many people go through that. They don't have people to talk to. They don't have places to go.
Yeah.
And they start off using. And, you know, when you use drugs to cope, obviously that's the wrong thing to do. But some of you out there might feel like you don't have a way. You know, you don't know which way to go.
Yeah.
Up, down, left or right. You just lost and you're in a limo right now when you're just using drugs as the only way that you can deal with your situation. You get stressed out. You use. You thinking too much. You use.
You feel inadequate. You use. Yeah.
Everything that happened, you use.
You get any bad news, you use.
Yep. And then even when you want to have a good time, you be like, yo, you want to have a good time? You even got to use to have a good time.
Yeah.
It even
that's
gets
so
like
true.
that. It's like, yo, you know what, man? I'm about to go out tonight. What you going to do, shoot? I'm about to get lit.
Yeah.
I got to get lit. We going to get lit tonight.
Yeah.
For sure. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, hey, you know, the way you were thinking before when you use that crutch, you didn't have anybody to reach out to. The good thing is you got people to reach out to now.
Yeah.
You know, you got outlets, you got in your area, you can look on the internet, you can find recovery centers, you can find this and that, and you can find somebody who's going to listen to you. Find your therapist, find somebody who's going to listen to you. First off, find God.
Amen, brother.
Number one. First thing you do is find God.
Yeah.
Once you find God, Lord Christ, Jesus, Yeshua, Hamashiach, hey, you know what?
Yeah.
He's going to lead you to the right path.
Yeah.
Surround you to the right people, go to the right places, you know, and stop doing what you're doing because you're just not going to feel good using it anymore. You know, even if you're just going to have something in your mind that's saying, oh, man, I don't want to do this crap. I don't feel like doing this crap.
Yeah.
And the mental changes. So the way you are before, once it changes, the important thing is to don't look back.
Yeah, and it's all learned behavior. You know,
Yeah.
like I started using drugs because like I saw it doesn't matter. I saw my brother smoking pot. You know, I started like snorting meth because I saw somebody else snorting meth. I started using heroin and shooting heroin because somebody taught me how to do that. So just like using drugs, like finding a new way to live, that's a learned behavior also. But you have to make the decision within yourself, like, man, I'm tired of this. I'm tired of myself. Like, I want to do something new. And that can be scary. That can be fearful. But, you know, I don't think there was ever a time in my life where I was like, oh, there's not a chance of something bad happening when I shoot heroin. You know, to an extent, like using drugs is scary too.
Yeah.
You don't know what the outcome's going to be. Yeah, at some point you don't seem to care, but you know, I think for me, when I realized like I wasn't caring about my life, I wasn't caring about if I was gonna wake up the next morning or if I was in jail, whatever. You know, I kind of flipped that to my new way of life. Is like, okay, I don't necessarily care about the outcome of trying a new way, but I'm at least going to try.
Yeah.
Like, if I cannot care if I'm going to live or die, then I could not care if I could try to do something better. So let's just do it.
Yeah.
You know, and once I got over that fearful and, like, that anxiousness and the worry of, like, is this going to work for me? And I just gave it a shot. Like, God has opened so many doors for me. Like, everything's working out.
So your fear basically like a delusion.
Yeah, for sure.
It's not real. It's just going on in your mind. The fear of the change, most likely. A lot of people don't like change. That could be a trigger to some people, literally.
Yeah.
You change places and the stress that comes with changing. You don't know how to deal with those emotions. The next thing you know, you're using like, yo, you know what, man? I'm about to get lit right now, man, because I just need to ease my mind.
Yeah.
When all you got to do is, if you're sober-minded, you deal with things differently.
Yeah.
So, tell me, you deal with certain situations differently than how you would being intoxicated and things like that or under the influence. Tell me some things about like how you handle like if you was to get angry, if you was to or like you said with fear, some things that you do now that helps out with you not to go back to using again.
Well, I think for me, one of the most important things is just like remembering just how bad my addiction had gotten. So when I'm fearful or I'm angry or when life shows up, right? It's like, okay, do I want to do my best to navigate this situation, or do I want to wake up every morning and the first thing I do is stick a needle back in my arm? Like, and just the thought of how quickly, like, if I get high today, my boyfriend and I are probably not going to be together tomorrow. And if we are, like, we've discussed this. If we are, if one of us relapses, like, we're definitely going to inpatient. But my thought is like, okay, if I stick a needle in my arm today, like, my thought is not going to be going to inpatient. Like, I'm going to be off and running. So I'm going to lose my house. I'm going to lose my animals. I'm going to lose my boyfriend, right? Like, I'm going to lose my job for sure. And I love my job, which means I'm going to lose the opportunity to help other people grow. So I think for me, it's just like thinking of, do I want to let my emotions dictate my actions? Because if I do, I'm not going to remain in line with God's will. I'm not going to, we were just talking earlier, right? The Bible says, like, be strong, be courageous,
be strong, be courageous,
and not be afraid nor dismayed.
Yeah.
And so, like, it's okay when I have anxiety, when I have fear, right? But am I going to let that dictate what I'm going to do with it? No. I'm going to pray on it. If I'm still bothered by it, I'm going to call my support group. I'm going to talk to Harold. I'm going to be like, hey, I need some help navigating the situation, because another thing that I've learned being in recovery and being in the program is, like, I don't ever have to be alone again. Yeah. And I think that was, like, one of the biggest I don't want to say incentives, but like when I first came into the program, somebody told me like, you never have to go through anything alone again. And even though when I was on the streets, I was surrounded by people, like I was so lonely because I felt like nobody understood me. I felt like, you know, as the old saying goes, it's me against the world. And I just felt so out of place. You know, I didn't feel like I could really connect with anybody. And this was on me, you know, this isn't because of anybody else per se. It was because of my own actions. But, you know, I just think about like the resources that I have today and the things that I've learned. Like, yeah, I still get frustrated. I have a puppy that likes to piss in my house, and that is frustrating the crap out of me. But am I gonna?
Yeah, that's the worst.
Am I gonna allow that
That's
to?
the
Am I gonna
worst.
beat her because of that? No, I'm gonna understand. Okay, she's a puppy. She's still being trained, right? So when it comes to like maybe an altercation or a situation with another person, it's like I do my best. And I could be better, of course, but I do my best to be understanding of, like, one, I have no idea what that person's been through. Two, if they're coming to me for anything, like, I fully believe, like, that is divine. That is something that God has set up and ordained.
A divine appointment.
A divine appointment.
Divine appointments.
That
They're
is-
real people. I
that
know I
is-
said that before.
They are. Yeah, I feel like that is something that God has
Yep.
set up and ordained. And, like, even with my job, like, you know, recently this week I started doing something new that I haven't been doing. And, like, I just kept telling myself, like, just because you've never done it before doesn't mean, like, you don't have the capabilities to do it. So it's just, like, talking to myself, affirming myself, like, okay, this might be an uncomfortable situation or a new situation, but that doesn't mean I'm not capable.
Yeah, facts.
And I think,
facts.
like, the biggest thing was, like, on the streets, like, I was not using my intelligence to benefit me, per se. I mean, yeah, I was getting high, but I wasn't doing anything like healthy, right, for myself. And so like that's one thing that like I've really tried to drill into my own head since I've been sober is like I have a brain. I can use my
yeah,
brain.
exactly.
I can use my brain. And if I don't know how to do something, like the simplest thing I can do is admit that. Like, hey man, I'm not sure how to navigate this. Could you please help me?
Mm-hmm.
And like that's just something never alone. NA says never alone, never again. And the NA program. And that is something that has stuck with me. I work AA, but I go to NA meetings too. But
Yeah.
that's something that has stuck with me. Is like I don't ever have to be alone in any type of situation. Like even when I'm by myself, like I am walking with Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
I never have to be alone again. So I think that's like the biggest thing is like just realizing like I was so alone out there. I didn't believe in myself. I didn't give anybody the benefit of the doubt or like think that they could help me in any type of way. If they came around me, it was like for some motive or reason.
So you felt like the trust factor wasn't there. So that's kind of like why you felt alone.
Yeah.
And then you had fear of what? Like letting people in your life because you've been treated wrongly before?
That and because like I didn't really know who I was.
Yeah.
So it was like if I don't know who I am, like there's no way that I believe that they can like me for who I am because who even am I?
Yeah.
You know, so
yeah.
it was
kind of lost.
so lost.
Yeah.
Just a lost soul out there.
Yeah, that's.
And then Jesus came along.
Yeah, Jesus came along, gave you light in a dark world.
Yes, he did.
Cause it's dark out there. It's real dark.
It
Y'all know
is.
it's dark out there.
Yeah.
Just look at the craziness in the world these days.
Yeah.
Listen, a lot of people they on drugs and they don't tell their people all the madness that going on in the world. You can't tell me most of these people ain't on drugs. They definitely on something. They on something.
Yeah.
And that's a fact.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like, and the thing about it is when people don't know what to do when they get in these situations. Key thing you said, you use your mind now. You know that, okay, listen, I know how to think my way out of this situation. I don't have to go back to doing it.
Yeah.
Your actions gonna cause the reactions. You
Yeah.
think more because when you're on drugs, you think more off of impulse. It's
Yeah.
just how I feel at this time.
Yeah.
I need to make this move because I feel this way at this time. I need to do this because I feel this way at this time. It's no thinking or anything. It's just impulse because
Yeah.
really you just want to get high. You just want to find a reason to get high.
Yeah.
Get mad, you get high. You want to have fun, you get high. Everything you do is surrounded around getting high.
Yeah.
It's because you're moving off a strict impulse.
Yeah.
Impulse. Fleshly. That's all it is. You know what I'm saying? Your flesh is in control. Your
Yeah.
spirit is in control. The Lord Christ, once you get him, he puts them reins down, breaks the strongholds, locks you in to be like, listen, I'm gonna give you a way, a path
Yeah.
in the future.
Yeah.
And then once you realize that, you know, the future then comes in waves. It's not always gonna be easy. It's gonna be hard. You're gonna have hard times. You might have more hard times than good times. And then you might want to go back and use. You might want to go back to smoke. You might want to go back to vaping. You might want to go back to cigarettes. Listen, people, don't do it. Don't do it. It leads you down the wrong path. Every single time. Every time. And you know what? When you go down that path, it's like, I can't stop.
Yeah.
I can't stop. Because that's what happens, because it feels good.
Yeah.
You have to admit it feels good to get high. Feels good to get drunk.
Yeah.
The after effects is crappy.
Yeah.
But at the time, you feeling good a lot of times. You know what I'm saying? So the mental change is definitely when you start doing things differently when you're sober. It hasn't been a lot. Honestly, I haven't seen people who actually got sober do worse than they did when they were intoxicated. Every single person I've seen when they got sober, they did a whole lot better than they were when they were on drugs. I don't care if they felt like they were doing drugs just a little bit. If they felt like they was a functional user, oh, I'm a functional user. That's crap, because then once you fully stop using, your pocket's getting fatter.
Yeah.